folks, it's Amy from Colorado Mountain Living, and since our last wildfire video just a few days ago, we learned of a brand new fire that's even closer to us that forced evacuations in a town that's just 2 towns away from us. So these threats of fires are definitely real, and I wanted to go over our evacuation plan in the case that should arise for us. I also want to go over looking at our entire homestead. Is it safe from fire? Is it Firewise? There are definitely things that you can do to protect your home from the threat of wildfire. So I want to go through that as well. But first, a quick update on the wildfires that we know about. The biggest problem that we're facing right now, besides just the dry conditions and the drought that we've had for months, is the fact that the winds are really severe. In fact, right now, it's practically at a standstill, even though it's gusting right now. But earlier today, the winds were sustained at 20 miles per hour, sometimes gusting higher than that. It was a super windy morning, and that means it was super windy up and down the mountain range, which made firefighting and doing aerial fire retardant drops almost impossible for the firefighters that are working on these massive fires that are happening a couple counties away from us. But the one fire that is the closest to home is called Left Hand Canyon Fire. That is the same canyon that Brian rode his bike up two weekends ago. And a fire broke out. It's over 400 acres right now, and it forced evacuations from the town of Ward, which is just north of us, up 20 miles up the road. The entire town was forced to evacuate. And that's because on Saturday, the Calwood fire went from 0, it started, and went to 5,000 acres in a day, in the course of a day. And it also turned out it burned 26 homes in the area. So because the fires can spread so rapidly, we are being really cautious with these evacuation orders. So we are definitely on watch. Not in the event that these fires are going to spread to us. That's not really what I'm worried about. It's more that if a fire were to erupt in our local area. In fact, one really drastic measure has been taken, and I just found out about it about an hour ago. The National Forest Service has closed all of the forest land in 5 counties, including our county. So absolutely closed to any recreational activity, no hunting, no hiking, no 4-wheeling, no walking your dog. So the trails that I take Vigo on, completely closed right now. So that is one of the drastic measures that the Forestry Service has decided to take to help keep people out of the forest land, to help reduce fires. A lot of folks are wondering what's causing all of these fires. There's a lot of investigations. When you look on the website, it says under investigation. It probably takes a long time to determine how these fires got started. But one fire, the Williams Fork fire, is listed as human caused. Now, is it human caused by accident? Is it human caused by ignorance? Is it human caused on purpose? Those are the kind of things we don't really know about. I can tell you that I'm not sure who patrols it, but I think it's the National Forest Service had to cite violations for illegal campfires for over 500 illegal campfires in this past summer. I'm not saying that all of these fires are from campfires, but that is definitely one of the big causes, is that where are fires being started? So when you're camping, that's one of those things. And if you're from out of state, you're not really familiar with fire bans and that type of thing. It might, that might be a factor as well. But also think about anything that can cause a spark. Running a chainsaw, running grinder equipment, doing welding, hunting, shooting, even throwing out a cigarette butt. But at this point, it takes almost nothing to get a fire to spread because everything is so flammable, and the winds lately have been enough to just spread it like crazy. So that's what we're faced with, and that's why things are getting so serious. So what we need to do is get a plan and make sure that we have our homestead safe from fires. So I want to go through a list that people have shared with us about what you should do in the event of evacuation. So what's our evacuation plan if we have 5 minutes to evacuate? Well, I've definitely simplified it to things that you can grab and go. So I think it's good to have all of your clothes already packed up in a bag. So having a duffel bag in the closet that's got changes of clothes, and importantly, making sure that some of these changes of clothes are warm weather clothes. So, having a nice thick sweatshirt, and making sure, especially this time of year, that you've got, your winter clothes. You want to have your jacket. You want to have gloves. You want to have a hat. because up here, the weather can drop in an instant. So you really want to have those warm weather gears, and also likewise with boots. So that's stuff that we're going to want to take with us if we were to had to evacuate in 5 minutes. In addition, any important first aid like medications or medicines that you take on a daily basis, the toiletries bag, you want to have that, and electronics. So your cell phones, your chargers, your keys, your wallet, kind of the basic stuff you would run out of the house with, making sure you're not forgetting. Those are some of really the major ones. The other key ones, if you have pets, we do, is pet food, pet bedding, and water for them as well. So in all likelihood, we would be going to a friend's house. If we were to evacuate in 5 minutes, we probably wouldn't go and have to grab a tent and batteries and a lantern and all of that. Get in the car, we'd each take our vehicle and take a pet and get out of here and head to a friend's house. So a lot of the things that you see on the list, as far as making sure you take extra batteries and a battery operated radio, and I think that stuff is all good pre-cell phone era. But at this point, if you have a car and you have a charger, you got your cell phone, it's good to have all of that. And if you have your car, you've got a radio, right? We would run out with the cars, and that would be our 5-minute evacuation plans. So probably if we had more time, we'd pack snacks, a cooler, blankets, pillows, just the event, that we had to stay somewhere for a long period of time. We might need more provisions, but that's really our 5-minute evacuation plan. I'm not super worried about documents and photo albums these days, at least for my generation. Everything's online. All our wedding photos are online. Memories and important documents you can get online. You can even get your birth certificate online. So those aren't things that I'm really super worried about. There's nothing that I need to have out of this house to live, right? Maybe I make sure I grab my passport. I'll probably put that in with the purse and the wallet. So anyway, that is just kind of like the 5-minute plan for evacuation. Not that I feel like we're gonna have to use that anytime soon, unless the situation changes in our immediate vicinity. But what is really important, what I want to take you guys through is our homestead safe for fire? How does our setup stack up against the threat of a wildfire? So I want to take you through a list for that as well, and take you back outside to see what it looks like around here. Would the home survive a wildfire if it were to come up on this actual property? So fortunately, there's a lot of great resources within our community and within Colorado to help you prepare and prevent wildfires if they were to come to your property. So I went down the list, and the first thing that they recommend is to make sure you can have 75 feet of a Firewise footprint away from your house. That means nothing that's easily burned within 75 feet of your house. So I want to take a measurement and find out if we're within that 75 feet. So it's about 65 feet to the property fence line. So from the house to the actual border of the property where that fence is, it's about 65 feet. Now you can see there's some aspens before the fence and there's aspens after the fence. One thing that was really encouraging, if you saw the last video about the wildfires a couple days ago, we actually had a conversation with one of the hotshot firefighters that came to Colorado to fight the wildfire, and he was saying that aspens don't burn. He said that aspens are a really great natural fire break. And I actually verified this online, looking at some studies that forestry services have done. But I think the caveat is that the aspens need to have leaves on them. So if it's a fully leafed aspen grove, you pretty much have a fire break. In fact, the fires that were shown, it showed all of the evergreen patches completely burned to a crisp and the aspens still standing with leaves on them. So I feel like because our home is in the middle of a 1-acre aspen grove, that we have some really good fire protection on hand. However, that's in question right now because we don't have any leaves on the trees. So I guess I feel pretty good in this direction towards I feel like our greatest threat could be towards the national forest. That's where all the evergreens are, but the evergreens are more than 75 feet away from the house. I think the closest one, if I can find one, it's definitely more than 10 feet past the fence. So I think the evergreens are more than 75 feet away, although the footprint from the house isn't 75 feet cleared, because we definitely have aspens right here. So this is more of a 45 foot. So we've got 45 feet until the very first trees. So there's that. So let's go in the other direction and check it out. So one thing that was clear in the recommendations was to make sure that any wood piles are 30 feet away from the house. So we have some serious wood piles. Not only do we have chopped firewood, we also have lumber piles, we have slash piles, but they are definitely 30 feet away from the house. So I'm gonna go take a measurement from the corner. We're in pretty good shape in that direction. It's about 75 plus feet to the mulch pile over there. So on the corner of the house here, or at the front entrance to the mulch pile, 75 feet. It doesn't look like that many feet, but apparently that's, so we're pretty in good shape. I know there's just a bunch of stuff that could burn over there. It is on the other side of it, aspen trees, so that's great, but it's significantly far away from the house. So we definitely have a footprint in that direction. Feeling pretty good about our footprint so far. But the last one I want to check is the other side of the house. So this is the side of the house with the walkway and the rock wall, and we're definitely questionable as far as how far away we are from the trees. So I'm gonna hope I can get this plugged in underneath the siding, and going to take a little walk over here to the trees. So only 20 feet from these trees. So that's a bit of a concern to only be 20-foot clearance on this side of the house. Again, I know these are aspens, and they're sort of an independent grove, and the driveway goes around them. There really is no other forest land on the west side of the house like this. So, you know, I think the bigger thing to keep in track of is make sure none of the branches are leaning towards the house. In fact, Brian has done a lot of trimming. A lot of the branches he's already trimmed, but he said he does want to trim some more. So just to keep anything that's leaning towards the house away. All right, there's one last area to check. That's the downslope of the house. Okay, so that distance is about 68 feet to this little aspen stand right here. Again, you know, it's aspen, so I'm not super worried about them. And on the other side of the aspens is more grass. Although on the Firewise pamphlet, it did recommend that if you're on a slope, you want a little bit more distance than just maybe the 75 feet. You might want actually a little bit more distance than that. We have a lot of distance. If you don't count the aspen trees that are right there, you can see how it's just mostly all grass. And then the forest is way back there. So we definitely have quite a bit of room to go. They recommended if you have grasses to cut them 6 inches or less. That would be a lot of work to keep this mowed down 6 inches. But definitely feeling good about just the overall spacing, you know. I think I've seen a lot of homes that are just right in the woods, you know, with like almost no spacing and evergreen trees all around the house. So we don't have that problem. You know, we do have evergreens behind us. We have a couple baby ones that are within the aspens, but we really don't have any stand of evergreen trees. And, you know, they're just more combustible. The oils that are in them, they just go up really fast and they burn really easily. So that's the big concern there. The other things that we do have going for us that was recommended was to have a water source on site. We've pointed this out in previous videos, but down there by the trailer, and you can't really see the top of it, but there actually is an old cistern right down in there on our property that has water in it as we speak. A natural spring feeds into that cistern and keeps it, even though we've had so much drought, it keeps it full. So we actually have water that's available to firefighters were they needing to come out to our property for any reason and have to have a water source. And it's a water source that's independent of electricity, right? So they could just dip their tanker into there and hook up their hose. I don't know how it works, but pump it out. I think something that we could do better is if we were to take our generator and get it connected to the house. Well, we do have to replace a couple of hoses on it to get it functional right now. And so we need to get the generator going. So if the firefighters wanted to use our well, for example, they'd have an opportunity to do that with a functioning generator. Another thing that we're doing right is our roofing material. So the fact that we used a metal roof, it's the most fire retardant material that you can use. That's going to keep if we had any sparks or embers landing on the house, it would keep it from burning through anything like a shingle or something like that. So that's another thing that's working well for us. As far as areas for improvement, I think if we were to clean up the lumber pile, even though it's far away from the house, it's still quite a combustible source of energy. So cleaning up the lumber pile, cleaning up the slash pile, and then taking care of all of the dead standing aspen. So it's nice to have aspen as a fire break, but if we were to take care of all the dead aspen that are in those groves and pick up all of the dead logs that are on the ground, I think that would be great as well. So a few more things that we have going for us. We don't have any overhead power lines. We don't have any electrical or telephone lines or anything like that near our house. It's all underground, so we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about trees falling on a power line causing sparks. That definitely happened in this county last year with the high winds that we get. And we had that power outage and they'd seen a tree fall over and it was creating sparks like crazy. Although that did happen in the winter time, so it wasn't during the high fire season time. We also don't have any propane tanks or anything really explosive right by the house. We do have our natural gas meter, but we don't have any tank per se that is out there next to the building that could ignite were there a forest fire and destroy the home. Everything here is underground. I think we could improve on the materials that are around the house. Like you can see, we've got a lot of mulch that we used, and that was really to contain the dust and just have an immediate covering. Eventually it'd be nice to turn that to stone or tile or some kind of outdoor patio that's not flammable, right? So you don't have opportunity for fire to creep up to the house exactly. Another fortunate thing is that the building material on the bottom portion of the house is metal. So whereas some homes, they might be log homes or, wooden siding, we definitely on the back side here have this full story of metal siding. So that's helpful as a fire retardant. Although on the front, it's only, 18 inches high. So we're not getting that much protection from it. But we do have the driveway in front of the house as well. We don't have any major issues with shrubs or other combustible materials around the house. We don't have any debris on the roof. We don't have any trees overhanging. We don't have a collection. We're not getting a collection of pine needles on the roof or anything like that, or branches, so that's nice. But we definitely have our to-do list to be even more Firewise. So that would be to clear out, like I said, clear out the lumber, the wood, those piles that we're not going to use and keep them really far away, clean up all the dead wood, change out the mulch into stone, and get our generator fixed. So those would be some things on the to-do list to even be doing better than what we're doing. But I definitely feel fortunate about the geographic sort of environmental layout of our homestead. If you take an aerial view and you look at the 4 acres that we have, yes, the forest land is behind us, and yes, we're surrounded by forest, but we have acres, and even our neighbor's land is acres of grass without any trees. And we are completely in the middle of almost a 2-acre aspen stand. So we kind of have that natural protection in place. Not that we're counting on that to protect us this week or next week because they don't have the leaves on them. But, when that firefighter said, he just shook his head and was like, nope, you're fine, you're fine. He was just really adamant about the fact how protective aspens are to a home. And I'd love to hear some stories from you guys if you've heard the same thing, or if you've ever heard of someone that's surrounded by aspens and they burnt up anyway. So I'd love to hear, what you know about being Firewise in the high country. That's what we're learning. That's what we're trying to do. And it's a work in progress, and it's never been more real than now. So I think the important things is that we've got our 5-minute evacuation plan, and we are good to go if a fire were to hit our homestead. But, right now, the way the fires that are existing in Colorado, they're not a major threat for us because they are, about 20 miles away. We are expecting some snow this weekend. So, it is, what a great thing to see. Never been so excited to see snow before. But in the forecast, we are calling for some freezing cold temperatures starting Thursday night. And then going into the weekend, Sunday looks like our best chance for snow. 1 to 3 inches at this point. Could only get more from there because up here we always seem to get a few more inches in the forecast. So that would be great to see some snow, see the end of this fire season. I think that's what we all want. But thought you guys would enjoy the update of the fire and then just our plan in case it was to happen, and the status of our homestead if we are in danger or if we're relatively okay where a fire were to strike. So thanks guys for tuning in. It's kind of a serious topic, but needs to be talked about, and hopefully we make it through this fire season unscathed. Take care. We'll see you next time.